I am posting this story from the bathroom of a moving train, and my battery is currently sitting at 4%. If this upload cuts off suddenly, it means they have found me, and I am already dead. It is 3:33 a.m., and the air outside this thin, rusted metal door has gone completely silent, which is worse than the screaming. Let me start from the very beginning, so you know exactly what not to do if you ever see a train arrive at a station that isn't on the map. I usually have a strict routine before sleeping. Mobile data off, Wi-Fi off, complete disconnect from the world. But tonight, on the K104 Midnight Express heading upstate, I made a fatal mistake and forgot. The carriage was freezing cold, rattling along the old tracks in the pitch black of the countryside. I was drifting off to sleep when suddenly, my phone screen lit up, blinding me in the darkness. It wasn't a text message or a notification, it was an AirDrop request. The sender's name was just a string of binary code, 010101. Like an idiot, driven by curiosity, I accepted it. It was a single image file, a plain black background with sharp white text titled Passenger Survival Guidelines. At first, I thought it was a prank by some bored teenager sitting a few seats down. But then I read the first rule, and the temperature in the car seemed to drop 10 degrees instantly. Rule number 1. The train will stop in an extremely cold rural area. Please keep your blanket covering your entire body at all times. Do not let your hands, feet, or head protrude from the blanket. Do not attempt to leave the train under any circumstances. The heating will restart at 3 a.m. Until then, please pretend to sleep and do not make a sound. I chuckled nervously, looking around the dim cabin to see if anyone was watching me. Rule number 2. We provide complimentary food service on this journey. Bread, water, and boiled eggs are safe to accept from the conductor in the blue uniform. Do not purchase food from the conductor in the red uniform. Note, this train does not have a conductor in a red uniform. If you see a conductor in red, close your eyes and pretend to sleep immediately. Do not make eye contact, or God help you. My heart skipped a beat, and a cold sweat started to form on my forehead. This was getting weirdly specific for a prank. Rule number 3. For public hygiene, smoking is prohibited in the cabin. If you must smoke, do so in the restroom before the train stops. Rule number 4. Once the train stops, the restroom doors will auto-lock. If you are stuck inside, sit down immediately. Sit down so you are not visible through the window. The area outside is uninhabited wilderness. If you see a silhouette floating past the window, it is a hallucination. If the person outside starts staring at you unblinkingly, freeze. Hold your breath until IT leaves. I threw my phone down on the seat, trying to shake off the creeping dread. What kind of sick joke is this? I muttered out loud, my voice echoing in the silence. Who's playing games? I yelled into the aisle. Silence answered me. Heavy, oppressive silence. And then, the intercom crackled to life above my head. But instead of the usual robotic conductor voice, it was a sweet, overly cheerful female voice that sounded wrong. Attention passengers, the time is now 1 a.m., August 20th. Due to an unknown viral outbreak at the next station, we are initiating emergency sanitation protocols. The Midnight Express will make an emergency stop immediately. Please remain calm and stay inside the train. My stomach dropped like I was on a roller coaster. The broadcast matched the AirDrop message perfectly. Something bad was about to happen. I looked at the guy sleeping in the bunk across from me. He was wearing large noise-canceling headphones, tapping away furiously on his phone. "Hey man," I whispered, leaning over the gap between our beds. "Did you get that file too?" He looked up, his face pale and his eyes wide with fear. "The rules?" he asked, his voice shaking uncontrollably. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I got added to a group chat," he said, swallowing hard. 129 people, all silent. Before we could say anything else, I felt a sudden, urgent pressure in my bladder. I remembered rule number 4. Do not use the restroom after the train stops. The train was slowing down rapidly, the brakes screeching against the tracks. If I didn't go now, I'd be holding it for hours in terror. I jumped off my bunk and sprinted down the corridor toward the bathroom. I slammed the bathroom door shut behind me just as the train screeched to a complete halt. Silence returned instantly, ringing in my ears. I washed my hands, staring at myself in the dirty, cracked mirror. It's just a prank, I told my reflection, trying to convince myself. Believe in science, not ghost stories. But then I felt it, a heavy, oppressive feeling, like eyes burning into the back of my neck. I slowly turned my head toward the small, frosted window. There was a shadow standing outside in the desolate wilderness, and 2 glowing red dots were staring right at me through the glass. Eyes. They weren't human eyes. They were glowing with a sickening, deep crimson light, pulsing like a heartbeat. My blood froze in my veins. "Hey, anyone in there?" A voice shouted from the corridor, banging aggressively on the door. "Hurry up, did you fall in?" The banging was loud, rude, and aggressive, but I couldn't move a muscle. The red eyes outside the window widened. They were reacting to the noise coming from the hallway. I remembered the rule. Freeze. Hold your breath. I pressed my back against the sink, my lungs burning as I held my breath. The thing outside pressed its face against the glass. I could hear a wet, squelching sound, like raw meat sliding against the window pane. It was searching for me. My face turned purple, and my chest felt like it was going to explode. Just as I thought I would pass out, the shadow flickered and vanished into the night. I gasped for air, collapsing onto the tiled floor. "Are you dead in there? Open up!" The guy outside yelled again. I unlocked the door and stumbled out, shaking like a leaf. An angry man in a dirty tank top pushed past me, grumbling curses. He slammed the door and locked it behind him. I stood in the corridor, trying to compose myself, knowing I should warn him. But before I could speak, a scream pierced the air. It came from inside the bathroom. It started as a scream of shock, then morphed into a guttural, agonizing wail of pure pain. Thud, thud, thud. He was throwing his whole body against the door, trying to escape. "Help me, God, help me, it's in here." The entire carriage went dead silent. Everyone stared at the bathroom door, eyes wide with terror. Then, the screaming stopped abruptly. Click. The lock turned slowly from the inside. The door creaked open, swinging back and forth with the motion of the train. We all leaned forward, expecting the man to stumble out bleeding. But the bathroom was empty. The only sound was the toilet flushing, swirling water mixed with a pungent, metallic stench. Blood. I was the only one who knew what really happened. He didn't hold his breath. He looked out the window. I checked my watch, 1:20 a.m. I needed to get back to my bunk immediately. I ran back, dove under my duvet, and pulled it tight over my head, creating a cocoon. My phone buzzed again. Another notification from the survival group. The train is about to stop completely. Attention sleeper cabin passengers. The previous warnings apply only to you. Do not investigate strange noises from the seated carriages. Whatever you hear, it is a hallucination. Danger is not limited to other carriages. What did that mean? Ding. A text arrived from my best friend, Mark, who was sitting in the hard seat carriage next door. "Bro, the conductor just told us to get off and transfer trains. You coming? Grab your bag. Let's go." I frowned at the screen. "Transfer?" I typed back quickly. "There's no station out here. And Rule 1 said do not leave the train. Trust me." Mark replied instantly. "Everyone is getting off. It's safer outside than inside." I felt the train shudder and stop completely. Through the gap in my blanket, I heard movement. People in the other carriages were standing up, shuffling towards the doors like zombies. "Let's go, honey," I heard a woman say nearby. The conductor said, "Another train is waiting." "Idiots," a gruff voice whispered from the bunk above me. "If they want to die, let them." I stayed frozen under my blanket, my instinct screaming at me to stay put. I texted Mark again. "Mark, stay on the train. Something is wrong." No reply. I tried to call him. It rang 3 times, then went to voicemail. Then, a photo message came through from his number. It was a photo of the transfer station, but the photo was pitch black. I turned up my brightness to max and squinted at the image. It showed a winding dirt track in the wilderness. There were no tracks. There was no other train. And worst of all, there was no train behind the camera. If he had just stepped off the train, where was the train he just stepped off? My blood ran cold. "Mark, get back on the train," I typed frantically. "Mark." Then I heard it, from outside the thick glass, cutting through the silence of the night like a knife. Screams, not just 1 or 2, but hundreds of voices screaming in unison. "Help me, it's biting me. Don't leave me here. Open the door." The sounds of flesh tearing and bones snapping echoed like a chaotic symphony from hell. I squeezed my eyes shut, jamming my fingers into my ears to block out the massacre. But then, a new sound emerged closer, inside my carriage. Click-clack, click-clack, high heels walking on the metal floor, but it sounded too heavy to be a woman. Like bones striking metal, the footsteps stopped right in front of my bunk. I could feel a presence looming over me, separated only by a thin layer of cotton blanket. "I know you're awake," a voice whispered. It wasn't a human voice. It sounded like grinding stones. I bit my lip so hard I tasted copper. Rule number 1, keep your blanket covering your entire body. I didn't move a muscle. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps moved away down the aisle. I eventually passed out from sheer exhaustion and terror. I woke up hours later, drenched in sweat. The train was moving again. I checked my phone. 3:05 a.m. I had survived the night, or so I thought. "My baby, where is my baby?" A woman's voice sobbed from the end of the car. "Someone took my son. He was right here under the blanket." "Shut up," a man yelled. "Do you want to bring those things back?" "Mommy is here. Please, someone answer me," she wailed. The atmosphere was heavy with paranoia. Everyone knew something had walked through the train taking people. Ding, another notification. "We are approaching the next stop. New passengers will be boarding." Rule number 5. The new passengers are dangerous. They look like us, but they are not us. Rule number 6. Do not refuse their gifts. If they offer you food, take it, but do not eat it. Rule number 7. Do not be alarmed by what they are eating. It is a local delicacy. The train slowed down again. I peeked out from my blanket to check my surroundings. I looked at the bunk opposite me. The guy with the headphones was gone. His backpack was gone too. He must have gotten off at the transfer stop. The bunk was empty for only a second before a new passenger arrived. A man in a thick winter coat threw his luggage onto the bunk opposite mine. He sat down, smiling a wide, rigid smile that stretched too far across his face. He opened a greasy paper bag. The smell hit me instantly. It smelled like heavy barbecue sauce, masking something rotten. He pulled out a rack of ribs. "Hey neighbor," he said, his unblinking eyes locking onto mine. "Hungry? I have extra ribs." He held out a piece. I froze in horror. The rib had 5 distinct, long bones, and at the end of each bone, there was a fingernail.
"Hey neighbor.
It was a hand.
Hungry?
A human hand,
I got extra
slathered in
ribs."
BBQ sauce. "Take it," he insisted, the smile not reaching his eyes. I remembered Rule 6. Do not refuse. My trembling hand reached out and took the severed hand. It was still warm. "Why aren't you eating?" he asked, tilting his head at an unnatural angle. "The meat is so fresh." His eyes flashed red for a split second. I forced a smile, my facial muscles twitching with fear. "I'm saving it for later," I lied, my voice cracking. "I like to eat." Slowly. The man stared at me for a long, uncomfortable minute. Then he shrugged. "Suit yourself. More for me." He brought the remaining ribs to his mouth. Crack. The sound of him biting through the finger bones echoed in the quiet carriage. He wasn't just eating the meat, he was grinding the bones into dust with his teeth. I turned away, gagging, and stuffed the severed hand deep under my pillow. Ding! My phone lit up again. Update. The final stop is approaching. Rule number 8. Trust no one. Rule number 9. After 5 a.m., I am no longer myself. Do not listen to any more rules I send. I checked the time. 4:58 a.m. 2 minutes left. Suddenly, the smell of barbecue was replaced by something even worse. It smelled like iron, like a slaughterhouse. Squeak, squeak, squeak. A rusty metal cart was rolling down the aisle. Late night snacks. A voice crooned. Hot stew, fresh stew. I peeked through my eyelashes. The conductor pushing the cart was wearing a bright red uniform. Rule number 2 screamed in my head. Do not purchase food from the conductor in red. There is no red conductor on this train. But here she was. She stopped right next to my bunk. The pot on her cart was bubbling with a thick, crimson liquid. Floating in the broth were chunks of pale meat that looked disturbingly like organs. Stew? Sir? She asked the man opposite me. Yes, please, he said eagerly. He handed her some crumpled cash. She ladled the soup into a plastic bowl. It was thick, viscous blood. The man drank it greedily, red liquid dripping down his chin onto his white sheets. Then, the conductor turned to me. And for you, sir? Her face was perfect, too perfect, like a porcelain mask. I know you're awake, she whispered, leaning closer. You accepted the hand. You must be hungry. I squeezed my eyes shut and regulated my breathing. In, out, pretend to sleep, the rules said. Such a shame, she hissed. It's fresh from the transfer station, from the passengers who got off. From Mark. Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't move. Finally, the squeaking wheels moved on. I checked my phone again. 5:01 a.m. Ding. We have arrived at the terminal station. Please exit the train immediately. Trust the red conductor. She will guide you to safety. The blue conductor is an escaped mental patient. Do not trust him. I stared at the screen. The rules had flipped. After 5 a.m., do not trust me. So, do I trust the warning about not trusting the rules? Or do I trust the new rules? Chaos erupted in the carriage. We're here, thank God, someone shouted. People began grabbing their bags and rushing toward the red conductor at the door. This way, she beckoned, her smile stretching wider than physically possible. I saw the man from the opposite bunk stand up. Coming, neighbor? He asked me. His eyes were now permanently glowing red, and behind him, I saw them. Through the window, on the platform, hundreds of silhouettes. They weren't people. They were waiting for feeding time. No, I whispered, this isn't a station. What? He asked. There is no terminal station. I yelled. I grabbed my backpack and ran, not toward the door, but toward the emergency window on the other side. Stop him! The red conductor shrieked. Her voice was a high-pitched sonic boom that shattered the overhead lights. Glass rained down on us. The passengers, the real ones, started screaming as the people around them began to transform. Skin tore open, limbs elongated. I smashed the emergency glass with my elbow. Pain shot through my arm, but adrenaline numbed it. I didn't look back. I jumped into the darkness. The ground hit me hard. I tumbled down a steep embankment, rocks tearing at my clothes and skin. Everything went black. Beep, beep, beep. The steady rhythm of a heart monitor. I opened my eyes. White ceiling, smell of antiseptic. A hospital. He's awake. A familiar voice cried out. It was Mark. He was sitting by my bed, looking tired but alive. Mark? I rasped. You got off the train. Yeah, man. He laughed nervously. We all did. You were screaming in your sleep about monsters, rules, and red eyes. The doctors said it was a severe panic attack induced by stress. It was just a dream, bro. A nightmare. I let out a long breath, tears streaming down my face. Thank God, I whispered. I thought you were dead. I'm right here, Mark said, squeezing my hand. His hand was cold, ice cold, and it felt rigid. I looked past him, to the patient in the next bed. It was the man from the bunk opposite me. The one with the winter coat. He was sitting up, eating a plate of hospital food. Ribs. He stopped chewing and looked at me. He smiled, that same wide, impossible smile. And then he winked. His eye flashed red. I froze, terror gripping my heart again. I turned slowly to look at Mark. Mark? I asked. Mark smiled. I told you, it's safer off the train. Mark turned his head slightly to check the door, but his reflection in the dark window behind him didn't turn. The reflection was staring right at me, and its eyes were glowing red, and I realized